On a freezing Christmas Eve in Chicago, Elena Cross was left to die in an abandoned warehouse, forgotten, alone, drowning in snow and silence. Her body went numb. Her vision blurred. Death felt close, inevitable. Then headlights tore through the storm. The most dangerous man in the city found her first, and instead of walking away, Dominic Vale decided she was worth saving. What happened next changed everything. If you want to see how far this story goes, hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I know where you're watching from. Now let's begin. The cold had teeth. Elena Cross felt them first in her fingertips, then her toes, then everywhere at once. The kind of cold that didn't ask permission, it just took. Stripped away warmth, thought, hope. Left behind only the dull ache of a body trying to remember how to survive. She sat slumped against a rusted metal beam in the loading dock of an empty warehouse on the south side of Chicago. Snow piled against the walls, drifting through gaps in the corrugated siding. The wind howled like something alive, something angry. Her breath came in shallow puffs, visible in the frozen air, each one a little weaker than the last. Her phone was dead, had been for over an hour. Her coat, thin, inadequate, the same one she'd worn for 3 winters because there was never money for a new one, was soaked through. Ice clung to the fabric. Her dark hair, usually tied back in a neat bun, hung loose and heavy with frost. She couldn't feel her hands anymore, couldn't feel much of anything. She thought about her sister. Mira, 23, sick, getting worse. The hospital bills were piling up faster than Elena could count them, faster than she could pay them. That's why she was here in the first place. Working Christmas Eve, agreeing to help with the year-end inventory audit, even though she should have been home, even though she should have said no. But people like Elena didn't say no. She said yes. She stayed late. She worked weekends. She kept her head down and her mouth shut and did whatever needed doing because that's what kept the lights on. That's what kept Mira's medication coming. That's what kept the world from falling apart. And this is what it got her. Forgotten. Left behind. Dying alone in a snowstorm because her team lead had assumed someone else would give her a ride home. Elena laughed. It came out bitter and broken, a sound that didn't belong to her. She wasn't the laughing type. She was the quiet type, the invisible type. The girl who showed up early, left late, and never caused problems. Maybe that was the problem. She let her head fall back against the beam. The metal was so cold it burned. Her eyes drifted shut. The world felt far away now, muffled, soft. The pain was fading, and she knew that wasn't a good sign. Hypothermia didn't hurt. It lied. It whispered that everything was fine, that she could just rest a little, that sleep would make it better. She wanted to believe it. Her thoughts turned sluggish, disjointed. She thought about Mira's smile, the way her sister used to laugh before the sickness took that away too. She thought about the apartment they shared, cramped and cold, but theirs. She thought about all the things she'd never said, never done, never dared to want. And then, for reasons she couldn't explain, she thought about him, Dominic Vale. She'd seen him exactly 3 times in her life. The first time was 2 years ago. She'd been working late at the office, Maxwell Kingsley's private accounting firm, the kind of place that managed money for people who didn't ask questions about where it came from. She wasn't supposed to be there that night, wasn't supposed to see the black cars pull up outside, wasn't supposed to watch through the window as men in expensive suits stepped out, moving like shadows, dangerous and deliberate. And then he'd emerged, tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair slicked back, sharp jawline, eyes that looked like they could see through walls. He moved with the kind of confidence that didn't need to prove itself, the kind that knew exactly how much power it held. Dominic Vale. Everyone knew the name, even people like Elena, who kept their noses buried in spreadsheets and tried not to notice things. You didn't work in Maxwell Kingsley's firm without understanding that some clients were more than clients. Some were dangerous, some were untouchable. Dominic was both. He ran half the city, maybe more. The kind of man who didn't just break rules, he rewrote them. People whispered about him in hallways, in bars, in places they thought were safe. They said he was ruthless, brutal, that he'd built his empire on blood and fear and an iron will that never bent. Elena had believed every word. And yet, The second time she saw him, he'd been standing in the lobby of the building waiting for an elevator. She'd been carrying a stack of files, eyes down, trying to be invisible. The doors had opened. She'd stepped inside. So had he. The space had felt too small. She'd kept her gaze on the floor, heart hammering, praying he wouldn't notice her. And he hadn't. Or so she thought. But when the elevator stopped on her floor and she'd hurried out, she'd glanced back. He'd been watching her, just for a second, just long enough for their eyes to meet. She'd felt it like a shock, like static, like something she didn't have a name for. Then the doors closed, and he was gone. The third time, Elena's thoughts fractured. The cold was deeper now, heavier. She couldn't remember what she'd been thinking about, couldn't remember why it mattered. Her vision blurred. The wind screamed, and then light. Sudden, bright, cutting through the snow like a blade. Headlights. Elena's eyes cracked open. She tried to move, tried to lift her head, but her body wouldn't cooperate. Everything felt distant, slow, wrong. A car door slammed. Footsteps, fast, urgent, a voice, low, rough, furious. Jesus Christ! Hands gripped her shoulders, warm, strong. She flinched, or tried to. Her muscles barely responded. Elena. Her name. He knew her name. She forced her eyes open wider, blinking against the brightness of the headlights. A face came into focus. Dark eyes, sharp features, a jaw clenched tight with something that looked like rage. Dominic Vale. She tried to speak. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Don't, he said, his voice clipped, controlled. Don't try to talk. Just fuck. He shrugged out of his coat, long, black, expensive, and wrapped it around her. The warmth was immediate, shocking. She gasped, and the sound came out broken. I've got you, he said. His hands moved quickly, efficiently, checking her pulse, her breathing. You're not dying here. Not tonight. Elena wanted to argue, wanted to ask why he was here, how he was here, but the words wouldn't come. Her brain was too slow, too cold. Dominic slid one arm beneath her knees, the other behind her back, and lifted her like she weighed nothing. She felt the world tilt, felt herself pressed against his chest. He was solid, real, warm. Stay with me, he said, his voice closer now, almost soft. Don't close your eyes, Elena. Look at me. She did. His eyes were dark, intense, locked on hers with a focus that felt like it could burn through the cold. That's it, he murmured. Keep looking at me. You're going to be fine. She didn't believe him, but she didn't look away either. He carried her to the car, a sleek black sedan idling in the snow, and slid into the back seat with her still in his arms. The driver, a man she didn't recognize, glanced back. Hospital? The driver asked. No, Dominic said sharply. My place. Now. The driver didn't argue. The car pulled away from the warehouse, tires crunching over ice and snow. Elena shivered violently. Her teeth chattered. Dominic pulled her closer, wrapping his arms around her, rubbing her back in slow, deliberate strokes. You're in shock, he said. Your body's trying to warm itself up. Let it. Don't fight it. She didn't have the strength to fight anything. The drive felt both endless and too short. The city blurred past the windows, lights, buildings, people celebrating Christmas Eve like the world wasn't falling apart. Elena's mind drifted. She thought she heard Dominic speaking, low and urgent, but the words didn't make sense. Something about negligence, about consequences, about making sure this never happened again. Then the car stopped. Dominic carried her out into the cold again, but only for a moment. Doors opened. Warmth rushed in. He moved quickly through what looked like a lobby. Marble floors, gold fixtures, security guards who stepped aside without a word. An elevator. Rising. Silence except for the hum of machinery and Elena's ragged breathing. Then another door. Warmth again. Softer this time. A penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, sleek furniture, dark wood, everything expensive and deliberate. Dominic carried her straight to a bedroom and set her down on the edge of a massive bed. He crouched in front of her, hands on her knees, eyes searching her face. Can you hear me? He asked. She nodded, barely. Good, I need to get you out of these wet clothes. You're not going to warm up until we do. Understand? Her cheeks flushed, whether from embarrassment or the slow return of circulation, she wasn't sure. She nodded again. Dominic stood and moved to a closet, pulling out a thick sweater and sweatpants. He set them on the bed beside her. "I'll be right outside," he said. "Call if you need help." He left. Closed the door behind him. Elena stared at the clothes. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely grip the fabric. It took her 3 tries to peel off her coat. Her fingers fumbled with the buttons on her blouse. She wanted to cry, wanted to scream, wanted to understand what the hell was happening. Why was Dominic Vale here? How did he know where to find her? Why did he care? She managed to change, slowly, painfully, and pulled the sweater over her head. It smelled like him. Clean, expensive. Something darker underneath. She didn't know why that made her chest tighten. When she opened the door, Dominic was standing in the hallway, arms crossed, leaning against the wall. He looked up as she stepped out, his gaze sweeping over her quickly, assessing. "Better," he said. "Come on." He led her to the living room and guided her to a chair near the fireplace. Flames crackled in the hearth, throwing warm light across the room. He draped a heavy blanket over her shoulders and handed her a mug of something hot. "Tea," he said. "Drink." She took it. Her hands were still shaking, but she managed to bring the mug to her lips. The warmth spread through her chest, chasing away some of the numbness. Dominic sat across from her, elbows on his knees, watching her with an intensity that made her want to look away. But she didn't. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Cold," she said. Her voice came out hoarse, weak. "You'll warm up. Give it time." Silence settled between them. Elena stared into the fire, trying to process everything, trying to make sense of it. "Why are you here?" she finally asked. Dominic's jaw tightened. "Because you were dying." "How did you know where I was?" He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was quieter, controlled. "I've been keeping an eye on you." Elena's breath caught. "What?" "For a while now," he said, meeting her gaze. 2 years. Her heart stuttered. "Why?" Dominic leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. "Because you're different." "Different how?" "You don't see me the way everyone else does." Elena frowned. "I don't even know you." Exactly. She didn't know what to say to that, didn't know how to respond to the weight in his voice, the way he looked at her like she was something precious, something worth protecting. "I don't understand," she said softly. "You don't have to." Dominic stood, moving to the window. His back was to her now, silhouette framed by the city lights. "You just need to know that you're safe here, that no one's going to hurt you again. I wasn't—" Elena stopped. She had been hurt, not physically, but left behind, forgotten, treated like she didn't matter. "Yes," Dominic said, as if he could read her thoughts. "You were." He turned back to face her. "The people who did this, who left you there, they're going to answer for it." Elena's stomach twisted. "What does that mean?" "It means they made a mistake, and I don't tolerate mistakes, not when it comes to you." Her pulse quickened. "Dominic, don't!" His voice was firm, final. "Don't defend them. Don't make excuses. They don't deserve it." She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him he was overreacting, but the truth was, she didn't have the energy, and maybe, just maybe, a small part of her didn't want to. The fire crackled. The snow continued to fall outside. Dominic crossed the room and sat down beside her. Closer this time. Close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from him. "You could have died tonight," he said quietly. "Do you understand that?" She nodded. "And if I hadn't found you—" He stopped. Exhaled. "I don't want to think about that." Elena looked at him, really looked at him, at the sharp lines of his face, the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands were clenched into fists like he was holding something back. "Why do you care?" she asked. Dominic's eyes met hers, dark, intense, unguarded in a way she'd never seen before. "Because I've been watching you for 2 years," he said. "And in all that time, I've never seen you be anything other than kind, hardworking, selfless. You take care of your sister. You show up when no one else does. You don't ask for anything. You don't complain. You just exist, quietly, like you don't think you deserve to take up space." Her throat tightened, And it drives me crazy, he continued, because you deserve more than that. You deserve more than being forgotten in a fucking warehouse on Christmas Eve. Elena's chest ached. She didn't know what to say. Didn't know how to process the fact that this man, this dangerous, powerful man, had been paying attention, had cared. I don't know what you want from me, she whispered. Nothing, Dominic said. I don't want anything from you. I just want you to be safe, to be warm, to know that you matter. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes. She blinked them back, but one escaped anyway, sliding down her cheek. Dominic reached out, slow and careful, and brushed it away with his thumb. You matter, Elena, he said softly, more than you know. She broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly. The kind of breaking that happened when you'd been holding yourself together for too long and someone finally gave you permission to fall apart. Dominic pulled her into his arms. She didn't resist, didn't pull away. She just let herself lean into him, let herself be held, let herself feel safe for the first time in longer than she could remember. I've got you, he murmured against her hair. I've got you. And for the first time all night, Elena believed it. They stayed like that for a long time. The fire burned low. The snow piled higher outside. The city glittered in the distance, oblivious to the small, fragile moment unfolding in the penthouse. When Elena finally pulled back, her eyes were red but dry. She looked at Dominic, really looked at him, and saw something she hadn't expected. Vulnerability. Thank you, she said. He shook his head. Don't thank me. I should have been there sooner. You were there when it mattered. Dominic's expression softened. Just a fraction, just enough. Stay here tonight, he said. It's not safe for you to go home in this weather. And He paused. I want to know you're okay. Elena should have said no, should have insisted on leaving, should have put distance between herself and this man who was too dangerous, too complicated, too much. But she didn't. Okay, she said. Dominic nodded. Stood. I'll get you set up in the guest room. You need rest. He started to walk away, but Elena's voice stopped him. Dominic. He turned back. How did you know where to find me? His jaw tightened. I tracked your phone. Her eyes widened. You what? 2 years ago, he said evenly. After the second time I saw you, I had someone install tracking software just in case. Elena stared at him. She should have been angry, should have been horrified, but all she felt was something else. Something she didn't have a name for. That's insane, she said. I know. That's illegal. I know. You can't just, I can, Dominic said. And I did. Because the thought of something happening to you and me not knowing, he stopped, exhaled. I couldn't live with that. Elena didn't know what to say, didn't know how to reconcile the fact that this should terrify her. But it didn't. You're out of your mind, she said softly. Dominic's lips twitched, almost a smile. Probably. He left to prepare the guest room, and Elena sat alone by the fire, trying to make sense of everything. Her life had been so small, so predictable. Wake up. Go to work. Take care of Mira. Repeat. She'd never asked for more, never dared to want more. And now there was this, him. A man who'd been watching her, protecting her, caring about her in ways she didn't understand. It should have scared her, but it didn't. When Dominic returned, he led her to the guest room, a space bigger than her entire apartment, with a bed that looked like a cloud and windows that overlooked the city. If you need anything, he said, I'm across the hall. Elena nodded. He hesitated, like he wanted to say something else. But he didn't. He just nodded and left, closing the door quietly behind him. Elena climbed into the bed, pulling the covers up to her chin. The sheets were soft. Warm. Everything about this place was warm. She closed her eyes. And for the first time in years, she didn't dream about drowning. She dreamed about headlights cutting through the storm, about being found. Elena woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the distant sound of the city waking up below. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then it all came rushing back. The cold, the warehouse, Dominic's hands lifting her out of the snow. She sat up slowly, testing her body. Her muscles ached. Her fingers were stiff. But she was warm, alive. The clock on the nightstand read 8:47, Christmas morning. She should have been at home, should have been making breakfast for Mira, watching her sister try to pretend she felt well enough to celebrate. Instead, she was in a penthouse that probably cost more per month than Elena made in a year, wearing clothes that didn't belong to her, trying to figure out what the hell happened to her life in the span of one night. There was a soft knock at the door. "Come in," she said, her voice still rough. The door opened, but it wasn't Dominic. A woman stepped inside, mid-50s, gray hair pulled back in a neat bun, wearing a simple black dress and an expression that managed to be both warm and no-nonsense at the same time. "Good morning, Miss Cross," the woman said. "I'm Margaret. Mr. Vale asked me to check on you and see if you needed anything." Elena blinked. No, I'm fine. Thank you." Margaret's gaze swept over her, assessing. "You don't look fine. You look like someone who nearly froze to death last night." Elena almost laughed. "Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Mr. Vale is having breakfast prepared. He'd like you to join him when you're ready." Margaret moved to the closet and pulled out a set of clothes, soft leggings, a cashmere sweater, thick socks. All new, all in Elena's size. "These should fit. There's a bathroom through that door. Take your time." She set the clothes on the bed and turned to leave. "Wait," Elena said. How does he know my size?" Margaret paused. Her expression didn't change. "Mr. Vale is very thorough, Miss Cross. He pays attention to details." Then she was gone. Closing the door quietly behind her, Elena stared at the clothes, at the soft, expensive fabric, at the evidence that Dominic had been planning this, preparing for this, like he'd known she'd end up here. She should have been disturbed. She was, a little, but mostly she was just confused. She got up, showered in a bathroom that had heated floors and a rainfall shower head, and changed into the clothes Margaret had left. They fit perfectly. Of course they did. When she stepped out into the hallway, she followed the smell of coffee and found herself in a dining room that overlooked the city, floor-to-ceiling windows, a table that could seat 12 but was only set for 2. And Dominic, standing by the window with a cup of coffee in his hand, staring out at the skyline. He turned when she entered. His eyes moved over her quickly, taking in the clothes, the damp hair, the fact that she was upright and moving. "You're awake," he said. "Yeah." Elena shifted her weight, suddenly uncertain. "Your housekeeper said you wanted me to join you for breakfast." "I did." He gestured to the table. "Sit, please." She did. Dominic sat across from her, and within moments, Margaret appeared with plates. Scrambled eggs, toast, fruit, bacon. More food than Elena usually ate in 2 days. "Thank you, Margaret," Dominic said. The woman nodded and disappeared again. Elena picked up her fork, then set it down. "I need to go home." "After you eat." "Dominic?" "Elena." His voice was calm, firm. "You nearly died last night. You're not going anywhere until I'm sure you're okay." "I'm fine." "You're not." She wanted to argue, wanted to insist that she could take care of herself. But the truth was, she wasn't sure she could. Not yet. Her hands were still shaky, her head still felt foggy, and the thought of stepping back out into the cold made her stomach twist. So she ate. The food was good, better than good. She tried not to think about how long it had been since she'd had a meal she didn't have to cook herself. Dominic watched her. He didn't eat much, just drank his coffee and watched, like he was making sure she actually swallowed every bite. "Stop staring at me," Elena said finally. "I'm not staring." "You are." His lips twitched, almost a smile. "Fine. I'm staring." "Why?" "Because I'm still processing the fact that you're here, that you're alive." Elena set down her fork. "You act like you thought I was going to die." "I did." Dominic's expression darkened. "When I got the alert that your phone hadn't moved in over an hour, I thought—" He stopped, exhaled. "I thought I was too late." "What alert?" "The tracking app I told you about. It sends me notifications if your phone stays in one place for too long, or if the battery dies, or if—" He caught himself. "It doesn't matter. The point is, I got the alert, and I knew something was wrong." Elena's chest tightened. "You could have just called me. Your phone was dead. You could have called someone else, the police, an ambulance. And waste time explaining the situation to people who might not take it seriously? Dominic's jaw clenched. No, I went myself. That's insane. You keep saying that. Because it is. Dominic leaned back in his chair, studying her. You really don't get it, do you? Get what? Why I care. Elena's throat went dry. No, I don't. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood, moved to the window, and stared out at the city again. 2 years ago, he said slowly, I came to your office for a meeting with Maxwell Kingsley. Standard business. Nothing unusual. I was waiting in the lobby and you walked past me carrying a stack of files. You were wearing a gray blouse and black pants. Your hair was tied back. You didn't look at me, didn't even notice me. You just walked past. Like I was invisible. Elena frowned. She didn't remember that. And then, Dominic continued, you tripped. The files went everywhere. You got down on your hands and knees and started picking them up, and I watched you. I don't know why. I should have just walked away, but I didn't. I stood there and watched you gather every single page, and when you were done, you looked up and saw me. Elena's breath caught. She did remember that, vaguely. The humiliation of dropping everything in front of a stranger, the way she'd scrambled to clean it up. You apologized, Dominic said. To me. Like it was somehow my fault. And then you smiled. This small, tired smile that didn't reach your eyes. And I thought, who is this woman? Who smiles like that when she's clearly exhausted? When she's clearly struggling? He turned to face her. I started asking questions. Found out your name, found out about your sister, about the medical bills, about the fact that you were working 2 jobs just to keep your head above water, and I couldn't stop thinking about you. Couldn't stop wondering why someone like you, someone kind, someone good, was getting crushed by a world that didn't give a damn. Elena's chest ached. So you decided to, what, watch me? I decided to make sure you were okay. Dominic's voice was steady, unapologetic. I had someone install the tracking app. I had people keep an eye on you, make sure you got home safe at night, make sure no one bothered you. I know how it sounds. I know it's crazy, Elena finished. Yes. Obsessive. Yes. Invasive. Yes. She stared at him. You're not even going to deny it. Why would I? Dominic crossed the room and sat down across from her again. I'm not going to lie to you, Elena. I'm not going to pretend this is normal. It's not. But I don't care. Because you're here, you're alive, and that's all that matters to me. Elena didn't know what to say. Didn't know how to process the weight of his words, the intensity in his eyes, the fact that this man, this dangerous, powerful man, had upended his entire night to save her. I don't understand you, she said softly. You don't have to. Yes, I do. Her voice was firmer now. You're asking me to just accept this, to be okay with the fact that you've been watching me for 2 years, that you've invaded my privacy, that you... I'm not asking you to be okay with it, Dominic interrupted. I'm telling you what I did and why I did it. What you do with that information is up to you. Elena's hands clenched into fists. What if I want you to stop? Dominic's expression didn't change. Then I'll stop. Just like that? Just like that? She searched his face, looking for the lie. But there wasn't one. He meant it, and that somehow made it worse. Because part of her, a part she didn't want to acknowledge, didn't want him to stop. I need to go home, she said again. My sister's going to be worried. Dominic nodded. I'll have a car take you. I can take the train. No. His voice was firm, final. You're not taking the train, not after last night. Elena opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. She didn't have the energy. And honestly, the thought of getting on a crowded train, of being surrounded by strangers, of pretending everything was fine, it made her want to crawl back into bed and never leave. Fine, she said quietly. Dominic pulled out his phone and sent a quick text. The car will be ready in 10 minutes. Elena stood. Thank you for everything, for saving me, for... She stopped. Just thank you. Dominic stood too. He stepped closer and Elena's breath hitched. He was tall, broad, the kind of presence that filled a room. But up close, he didn't feel threatening. He felt steady. Can I ask you something? He said. Elena nodded. Do you regret it? Regret what? Being here. With me. She thought about it. Really thought about it. About the fact that she should be terrified. That she should be running. That every logical, rational part of her brain was screaming at her to get out. But she wasn't listening to that part. No, she said. I don't. Something shifted in Dominic's expression. Something that looked almost like relief. Good, he said softly. The car ride home was quiet. Elena sat in the back of a black sedan that smelled like leather and expensive cologne, watching the city pass by outside the window. The driver didn't speak, didn't ask questions, just drove. When they pulled up outside her apartment building, a rundown 3-story walk-up in a neighborhood that had seen better days, the driver got out and opened her door. Thank you, Elena said. He nodded, didn't smile, just got back in the car and drove away. Elena climbed the stairs to the second floor, her legs still weak, and unlocked the door to the apartment she shared with Mira. The smell hit her first, stale air, old coffee, the faint chemical scent of disinfectant from the medical supplies they kept in the bathroom. Mira? She called. In here. Elena followed the voice to the tiny bedroom at the end of the hall. Mira was lying in bed, propped up on pillows, her laptop balanced on her knees. She looked up when Elena entered, and her eyes widened. Oh my God, Mira said. Where the hell have you been? I tried calling you like 20 times. My phone died, Elena said. It wasn't a lie. Just not the whole truth. Mira's gaze narrowed. You look like crap. Thanks. I'm serious. Are you okay? Elena sank down onto the edge of the bed. I'm fine. Just long night. Elena. I'm fine, Mira, really. Her sister didn't look convinced, but she didn't push. That was the thing about Mira. She knew when to let things go. Did you at least get the inventory done? Mira asked. Elena's stomach twisted. The inventory, the team, the fact that they'd left her behind. Yeah, she lied. It's done. Mira smiled. Good. Because you deserve a day off. It's Christmas. Let's just, I don't know, watch movies or something. Elena forced a smile. Yeah, that sounds good. They spent the rest of the morning like that, watching old holiday movies on Mira's laptop, eating leftover takeout, pretending everything was normal. But Elena's mind kept drifting, kept going back to the penthouse, to Dominic's eyes, to the way he'd looked at her like she mattered. Her phone buzzed. She pulled it out. Dominic must have had someone charge it, and saw a text from an unknown number. I hope you made it home safely. Her heart skipped. She stared at the message, then typed back. I did. Thank you. A moment later, another text came through. If you need anything, let me know. Elena hesitated, then typed, How did you get my number? The response was immediate. I've had it for 2 years. Remember? She almost laughed. Almost. Right. The tracking app. Among other things. Elena bit her lip. She should have been angry. Should have blocked the number. Should have told him to leave her alone. But she didn't. Thank you again. For last night. You don't need to keep thanking me. I do, though. There was a pause. Then, you're welcome, Elena. She set the phone down and tried to focus on the movie, but her mind was elsewhere. The next few days passed in a blur. Elena went back to work, ignoring the stares and whispered conversations from her coworkers. No one asked her about Christmas Eve. No one apologized. It was like it never happened. Except it had. And Elena couldn't stop thinking about it. She couldn't stop thinking about him. Dominic didn't text her again, didn't call, didn't show up. And part of her was relieved. But another part, a part she didn't want to acknowledge, was disappointed. Then, 3 days after Christmas, everything changed. Elena came home from work to find Mira sitting on the couch, staring at her laptop with wide eyes. Elena, Mira said slowly, you need to see this. Elena set down her bag. See what? Mira turned the laptop around. On the screen was an email from the hospital. The subject line read, Account balance update. Elena's stomach dropped. What is it? They're saying the balance is 0, Mira said, her voice shaking. All of it, the bills, the treatments, everything. It's paid. Elena's breath caught. That's not possible. That's what I thought. So I called them, and they confirmed it. Someone made an anonymous payment, covered everything. Elena's legs gave out. She sank onto the couch, her mind racing. Who would do that, Mira asked. Who even has that kind of money? Elena knew. She knew exactly who. Her hands were shaking as she pulled out her phone and typed a message. What did you do? The response came seconds later. What needed to be done? Dominic, your sister deserves to get better, and you deserve not to drown in debt trying to save her. Elena's throat tightened. Tears pricked at her eyes. You can't just... I can. And I did. She stared at the screen. At the words. At the proof that this man, this stranger who wasn't really a stranger, had just changed her life in a way she couldn't repay. Why? Because you matter, Elena. I told you that. She didn't know what to say, didn't know how to respond. So she just typed, "Thank you. You're welcome." Mira was staring at her. Elena, who was that? Elena looked up. A friend. A friend who just paid off 6 figures in medical bills? Yeah. What kind of friend? The kind who saved my life, Elena said quietly. Mira's eyes widened. What? Elena took a breath. And then, slowly, carefully, she told her sister everything. About Christmas Eve, about the warehouse, about Dominic. When she finished, Mira was quiet for a long time. So, Mira said finally, you're telling me that a literal crime boss has been stalking you for 2 years, saved you from freezing to death, and just paid off all my medical bills? Yeah. And you're okay with this? Elena paused. I don't know. Elena, I know how it sounds, Mira. I know it's insane, but... She stopped. He's not what I expected. He's not bad. He's a crime boss. I know. He runs half the city. I know. And he's been watching you. I know. Elena looked at her sister. But he also saved my life, and he just gave you a chance to get better. So yeah, I'm okay with it, for now. Mira shook her head. You're out of your mind. Probably. But even as she said it, Elena knew she didn't care. That night, she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, her phone on the nightstand beside her. She kept thinking about Dominic, about the way he'd looked at her, the way he'd held her, the way he'd made her feel safe. Her phone buzzed. She picked it up. Are you awake? Her heart raced. Yes. Can't sleep? Not really. You? Same. Elena bit her lip, then typed, Why are you doing this? Because I can't stop thinking about you. Her breath caught. Dominic, I know it's not what you want to hear, but it's the truth. I don't know what I want to hear. Then don't think about it. Just talk to me. And so she did. They texted for hours. About nothing. About everything. About her job, his work, the city, the snow. It was easy, natural, like they'd known each other for years instead of days. When Elena finally fell asleep, it was with her phone in her hand and a smile on her face. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel alone. The texting became a habit. Every night, after Mira fell asleep and the apartment went quiet, Elena's phone would buzz. And every night she'd pick it up, knowing exactly who it was. They talked about everything and nothing. Dominic told her about the city, about the parts of Chicago most people never saw, the underground clubs, the backroom deals, the network of power that ran beneath the surface like electrical wiring. He didn't glamorize it. Didn't pretend it was something it wasn't. He just told her, like he trusted her to understand. And somehow, she did. Elena told him about Mira, about the years of watching her sister get sicker, the frustration of dealing with insurance companies that didn't care, the guilt that came with every bill she couldn't pay on time. She told him about her parents, gone in a car accident when she was 19 and Mira was 14, about how she'd dropped out of college to take care of her sister, about how her life had become this small, careful thing built entirely around survival. Dominic listened, never interrupted, never offered empty platitudes, just listened. A week after Christmas, he asked her to dinner. The text came through at noon while Elena was sitting at her desk, staring at a spreadsheet that refused to balance. Have dinner with me tonight. Her heart jumped. She stared at the message, then typed back, Is that a question or a command? A question. But I'm hoping you say yes. Elena bit her lip. This was a bad idea. She knew it was a bad idea. Getting involved with Dominic Vale, actually involved, not just texting at midnight, was the kind of mistake people didn't come back from. But she typed yes anyway. Good, I'll pick you up at 7. Where are we going? You'll see. She should have asked more questions, should have insisted on details. But she didn't. She just went back to work and tried not to think about the fact that she had nothing to wear. At 6:30, she was standing in front of her closet, staring at the meager collection of clothes she owned. Everything was practical, boring, the kind of thing you wore when you wanted to disappear. Mira appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame. She looked better than she had in weeks. Still pale, still tired, but better. The treatments were working. Elena tried not to think too hard about why. You're freaking out, Mira observed. I'm not freaking out. You've been standing there for 10 minutes. Elena sighed. I don't have anything to wear. Mira's eyes lit up. Is this for him? The guy? Dominic, and yes. Oh my God, you're going on a date with a crime boss. It's not a date. It's totally a date. Elena grabbed a simple black dress, the only one she owned that wasn't completely shapeless, and held it up. Does this work? Mira made a face. It's fine, but you need to do something with your hair. What's wrong with my hair? Nothing. If you're going to a funeral... Elena threw a shoe at her. Mira dodged, laughing. By the time 7 o'clock rolled around, Elena had managed to make herself look presentable. The black dress, low heels she'd bought for a job interview 3 years ago, her hair down instead of tied back. She felt ridiculous, like she was playing dress-up. Her phone buzzed. I'm outside. Elena's stomach flipped. She grabbed her coat, still the same thin, inadequate one from Christmas Eve, and headed for the door. Be safe, Mira called after her, and text me if he turns out to be a serial killer. He's not a serial killer. You don't know that. Elena didn't have a good response to that, so she just left. Dominic was waiting on the street, leaning against a black car that probably cost more than Elena's entire building. He was wearing a dark suit, no tie, the top button of his shirt undone. He looked unfairly good. When he saw her, something shifted in his expression, something that looked almost like surprise. Hi, Elena said, suddenly self-conscious. Hi. Dominic straightened, his eyes moving over her slowly. You look beautiful. Elena's cheeks flushed. Thanks. You look not bad yourself. His lips twitched. Not bad. I'll take it. He opened the car door for her, and Elena slid inside. The interior smelled like leather and something else, something clean and expensive that she couldn't name. Dominic got in beside her, and the driver pulled away from the curb without a word. Where are we going? Elena asked. Somewhere quiet. That's not an answer. I know. She rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. She couldn't help it. They drove north, out of her neighborhood, and into parts of the city Elena rarely saw. The buildings got taller, cleaner, newer. The streets got wider. The people walking past looked like they belonged in magazines. The car pulled up outside a restaurant that didn't have a sign, just a door with a single light above it. Dominic got out and offered her his hand. Elena took it, trying not to think about how warm his palm was against hers. Inside, the restaurant was small, intimate, maybe 10 tables, all of them empty except for one in the back corner. Soft lighting. No music, just the quiet murmur of a kitchen somewhere out of sight. A man in a crisp white shirt appeared, smiling at Dominic like they were old friends. Mr. Vale, everything is ready. Thank you, Marco. Marco led them to the table in the corner, pulled out Elena's chair, and disappeared. Elena looked around. Did you rent out the entire restaurant? Yes. Why? Dominic sat across from her, his eyes meeting hers. Because I wanted to have dinner with you, just you, without interruptions. Elena's breath caught. That's insane. You keep using that word. Because it keeps being true. A smile ghosted across his face. Fair enough. Marco returned with wine, something red and probably expensive, and poured 2 glasses. Then he rattled off the menu, which seemed to consist of whatever the chef felt like making that night. Elena nodded along, pretending she understood half of what he was saying. When Marco left, Dominic raised his glass. To not freezing to death, he said. Elena laughed, A real, genuine laugh that surprised her. She raised her glass. To not freezing to death. They drank. The food came in courses, small plates of things Elena couldn't pronounce but tasted incredible. She tried not to think about how much this must cost. Tried not to think about the fact that a week ago she'd been eating ramen for the third night in a row. "Tell me something," Dominic said. Elena looked up. "Something like what?" "Something I don't know." She thought about it. "I hate accounting." His eyebrows rose. "You're an accountant." "I know, but I hate it. I'm good at it, but I hate it." "Then why do you do it?" "Because it pays the bills. Or it did, before—" She stopped. "Before you paid them." Dominic's expression didn't change. "What would you do if you could do anything?" No one had ever asked her that, not once. "I don't know," Elena said slowly. "I used to want to be a writer, back before everything happened. I had this stupid idea that I'd go to college, study literature, maybe write a book someday. That's not stupid. It's impractical." "That doesn't make it stupid." Elena stared at him. "You really believe that?" "I believe that people should do what makes them happy. Life's too short to spend it doing things you hate." "Easy to say when you have money." "True." Dominic leaned back in his chair. "But money doesn't fix everything, Elena. It just gives you different problems." She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him that money absolutely did fix things, like medical bills and rent and the constant, gnawing fear of not having enough. But she didn't, because there was something in his voice that made her think he actually understood. "What about you?" she asked. "What would you do if you could do anything?" Dominic was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know if I'd do anything different." "Really? I built this. The business, the connections, the power. It's mine. I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm not asking you to." "Aren't you?" Elena frowned. "No, I'm just trying to understand." "Understand what?" "You. Why you do what you do. Why you live the way you live." Dominic's jaw tightened. "You want the truth?" "Always. I do it because I can. Because I'm good at it, and because the alternative, being powerless, being at someone else's mercy, is worse than anything else I can imagine." Elena felt something shift in her chest. "What happened to you? What makes you think something happened?" "Because people don't become what you are without a reason." Dominic's eyes darkened. For a moment she thought he wouldn't answer. Then he said, "My father was a gambler, a bad one. He owed money to people who didn't forgive debt. When I was 16, they came to collect, burned down our house, killed my mother, beat my father so badly he never walked again." Elena's breath stopped. "I was at a friend's house that night," Dominic continued, his voice flat, controlled. "When I came home, everything was gone. My mother, my home. My father might as well have been dead. He just took another 10 years to finish the job. Dominic, I swore that would never happen again, that I would never be powerless, that I would never let anyone take from me what I wasn't willing to give." He looked at her. "So I built this, piece by piece, and now no one touches me. No one touches what's mine." Elena's throat tightened. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It made me who I am. That doesn't make it okay." "No, but it's the truth." They sat in silence for a while. The food kept coming, but Elena barely tasted it. She was too focused on the man across from her, on the cracks in his armor that he'd just let her see. "Can I ask you something?" she said finally. "Yes." "Why me?" Dominic's gaze sharpened. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you're you. You could have anyone, do anything. So why are you here with me?" "Because you're the only person who's ever looked at me like I'm just a man." Elena blinked. "What?" "Everyone else sees the reputation, the power, the things I've done. They see Dominic Vale, the crime boss, the monster." He leaned forward. "But you just see me, and I—" He stopped, exhaled. "I can't explain it. But when I'm with you, I feel like I can breathe." Elena's heart was pounding. "You barely know me." "I know enough. You know what you've seen, what you've watched. And what I've seen is someone who spent her entire life taking care of other people. Someone who's kind even when the world gives her no reason to be. Someone who deserves more than she's gotten. Dominic's voice dropped. I know enough, Elena. She didn't know what to say. Didn't know how to respond to the weight of his words, the intensity in his eyes. So she did the only thing she could think of. She reached across the table and took his hand. Dominic's fingers closed around hers, warm and solid. He stared at their joined hands like he couldn't quite believe it was real. I don't know what I'm doing, Elena said quietly. I don't know if this is a good idea. I don't know if I should be here. Do you want to be here? She thought about it, really thought about all the reasons she should say no. All the reasons this was dangerous and reckless and stupid. And then she thought about the way he'd saved her, the way he'd looked at her, the way he made her feel like she mattered. Yes, she said, I do. Something in Dominic's expression softened. Then that's enough. They stayed like that for a while, hands linked across the table, the rest of the world falling away. When the meal finally ended, Dominic paid. Elena didn't even see him do it, and they walked back to the car. The night was cold, but not brutal. The kind of cold that made you want to stand a little closer to the person beside you. Dominic opened the car door for her, but before she could get in, he stopped her. Elena. She turned. He was standing so close she could feel the heat radiating off him. I need to tell you something, he said. Her heart skipped. Okay, I'm not good at this. At whatever this is. I don't do relationships. I don't let people in. But you... He stopped. You make me want to try. Elena's breath caught. Dominic. I'm not asking you for anything. I'm not expecting anything. I just need you to know that you matter to me more than anyone has in a long time. She didn't think, didn't let herself second guess. She just stepped forward, rose up on her toes, and kissed him. For a second, Dominic went still. Frozen. Like he couldn't believe what was happening. Then he kissed her back. His hands came up to cup her face, gentle and sure, and Elena felt the world tilt. This wasn't soft, wasn't tentative. This was need and want and something deeper, something that had been building between them since the moment he'd found her in the snow. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were breathing hard. I've wanted to do that since Christmas, Dominic said, his voice rough. Elena laughed, breathless. Why didn't you? Because I was trying to be respectful, trying not to push. Stop trying. His eyes darkened. Elena, I mean it. Stop holding back. Stop treating me like I'm going to break. I'm here because I want to be, so just... She stopped. Just be honest with me. About everything. Dominic searched her face. Then he nodded. Okay. Okay. He kissed her again. Slower this time. Deeper. Like he was trying to memorize the taste of her. When they finally got in the car, Elena's head was spinning. She sat beside Dominic, his hand resting on her knee, and tried to process what had just happened. She'd kissed him. She'd kissed Dominic Vale, and it had felt right. The driver took them back to Elena's apartment. When the car stopped, Dominic walked her to the door. Thank you, Elena said, for tonight, for everything. You don't need to thank me. I know, but I want to. Dominic smiled. A real smile, not the guarded one she'd seen before. Good night, Elena. Good night. She went inside, climbed the stairs, and let herself into the apartment. Mira was asleep on the couch, the TV still on. Elena turned it off, grabbed a blanket, and draped it over her sister. Then she went to her room, lay down on the bed, and stared at the ceiling. Her phone buzzed. I can't stop thinking about that kiss. Elena smiled. Good. Neither can I. When can I see you again? Tomorrow? Tomorrow. She set the phone down, her heart still racing, and closed her eyes. For the first time in years, Elena felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. The next morning, she woke up to a text from Dominic. Something came up. I'll explain later. Stay safe. Elena frowned. That didn't sound good. She got ready for work, trying not to worry, but the feeling lingered, a knot in her stomach that wouldn't go away. When she got to the office, the atmosphere was different, tense. People were whispering in corners, avoiding eye contact. Elena's desk phone rang. "Elena Cross," she answered. "Miss Cross, this is Mr. Kingsley's assistant. He'd like to see you in his office. Now." Elena's stomach dropped. "Okay, I'll be right there." She hung up and stood, her hands shaking. Maxwell Kingsley didn't call people into his office unless something was very wrong. She walked down the hallway, past the stairs and whispers, and knocked on Kingsley's door. "Come in." She stepped inside. Kingsley was sitting behind his desk, his expression unreadable. Beside him stood a man Elena didn't recognize, tall, thin, wearing a suit that looked like it cost more than her rent. "Sit down, Miss Cross," Kingsley said. Elena sat. Kingsley folded his hands on the desk. "I'm going to be direct. There's been an issue with the year-end inventory audit." Elena's heart sank. What kind of issue? The kind where someone needs to take responsibility. Kingsley's eyes were cold. And unfortunately, that someone is you. "What?" Elena's voice came out sharper than she intended. "I wasn't even there. I was left behind in the warehouse, which is why this is your responsibility," the thin man interrupted. His voice was smooth, oily. "You failed to complete your assigned tasks. You abandoned your post. And as a result, there are discrepancies in the records." Elena stared at him. "That's not what happened." "Isn't it?" The man smiled. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you left early, failed to do your job, and now you're trying to shift the blame." "That's a lie, Miss Cross," Kingsley said, his tone final. "We're terminating your employment, effective immediately." The words hit like a punch to the gut. "You can't." "We can, and we are." Kingsley pushed a folder across the desk. "Sign this. It's a standard severance agreement. You'll receive 2 weeks' pay in exchange for your signature and your silence." Elena's hands were shaking as she opened the folder. The words blurred together. Non-disclosure, non-disparagement, waiver of claims. They were trying to silence her. She looked up. "This is because of Dominic, isn't it?" Kingsley's expression didn't change, but the thin man's smile widened. "I don't know what you're talking about," Kingsley said. "Yes, you do." Elena stood, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. "You're doing this because I'm involved with him, because you're scared of what he might do." "Sign the agreement, Miss Cross." "No." The room went silent. "No?" Kingsley's voice was dangerous now. "No." Elena picked up the folder and dropped it back on his desk. "I'm not signing anything, and if you want to fire me, fine, but I'm not going quietly." She turned and walked out before either of them could respond. Her legs were shaking by the time she got to her desk. She grabbed her bag, ignored the stairs, and walked out of the building. She made it halfway down the block before her phone rang. "Dominic." "Hello?" Her voice cracked. "Elena, what happened? How do you—" "I have people watching the building. Tell me what happened." She did. All of it. The meeting, the accusations, the agreement. When she finished, there was silence on the other end. "Dominic, I'm going to handle this." "What does that mean?" "It means they made a mistake, and I'm going to make sure they understand that." "Dominic, please. No one touches you, Elena. No one. Do you understand me?" Her throat tightened. "Yes." "Where are you right now?" "On the street, outside the office." "Stay there. I'm sending a car." "I can—" "Stay there." The line went dead. 10 minutes later, a black car pulled up. The same driver from the night before. He didn't speak, just opened the door. Elena got in. They drove to Dominic's penthouse. When Elena walked inside, he was waiting. He crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms. "I'm sorry," he said against her hair. "I'm so sorry. It's not your fault." "Yes, it is." He pulled back, his hands on her shoulders. "They did this because of me. Because they're scared of what I represent, and you paid the price. I don't care about the job." "You should." "I don't." Elena's voice was firm. "I hated that job. I hated that place. And if losing it means I never have to go back, then maybe it's a good thing." Dominic stared at her. "You mean that?" "Yes." He kissed her, hard and desperate, like he was trying to prove something. Elena kissed him back, pouring everything she felt into it. The fear, the anger, the certainty that this, whatever this was, mattered more than anything else. When they broke apart, Dominic rested his forehead against hers. "I'm going to take care of you," he said. "You and Mira. Whatever you need. I'll make sure you have it." "I don't need you to." "I know, but I'm going to anyway." Elena closed her eyes. "Okay." "Okay?" And in that moment, everything changed. Because Elena realized she wasn't just falling for Dominic Vale. She'd already fallen. Elena stayed at the penthouse for 3 days. She told herself it was temporary, that she just needed time to figure things out, to process everything that had happened. But the truth was simpler than that. She didn't want to leave. Dominic didn't push, didn't ask questions. He just made space for her, gave her a room, the same guest room from Christmas, and let her exist without expectations. In the mornings, they had coffee together. In the evenings, they talked. And at night, when the city went quiet, Elena would lie in bed and wonder how her life had become this. Mira called every day. Elena lied and said she was staying with a friend. It wasn't entirely untrue, but it wasn't the whole truth either. On the 4th morning, Elena woke to find Dominic already dressed, standing by the window with his phone pressed to his ear. His voice was low, clipped, angry. "I don't care what it takes. Make it happen." He hung up and turned. When he saw Elena standing in the doorway, his expression softened. "Morning," he said. "Morning." Elena crossed her arms. "Who was that?" "Work." "That's not an answer." Dominic's jaw tightened. "It's better if you don't know." "Stop doing that." "Doing what?" "Protecting me from the truth." "I told you I wanted honesty, Dominic, so be honest." He studied her for a long moment. Then he sighed. "Maxwell Kingsley. He's been making calls, trying to bury you, spread word that you're unreliable, untrustworthy." Elena's stomach twisted. "Why would he do that?" "Because he's scared, and when scared men feel cornered, they lash out." Dominic moved closer. "But he's not going to get away with it." "What are you going to do?" "What needs to be done." Elena's pulse quickened. "Dominic." "Elena." His voice was firm, final. "You don't need to worry about this. I'm handling it. I don't want you to hurt him." Dominic's eyes darkened. "I'm not going to hurt him, but I am going to make sure he understands that there are consequences for what he did." "What kind of consequences?" "The kind that matter to men like him." Dominic's hand came up to cup her face. "Trust me, please." Elena wanted to argue, wanted to tell him that this wasn't his fight, but the look in his eyes stopped her. This wasn't about revenge. It was about protection, about making sure no one ever hurt her again. "Okay," she said quietly. "I trust you." Something shifted in Dominic's expression. Relief, maybe even surprise, like he hadn't expected her to say yes. He kissed her, slow and deep, like he was sealing a promise. When he pulled back, his thumb brushed across her cheek. "I have to go out for a few hours. Will you be okay here?" "I'll be fine. Margaret will be here if you need anything." "Dominic, I'm not a child." His lips twitched. "I know, but humor me." Elena rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. "Fine." He left, and Elena spent the morning wandering the penthouse, trying to make sense of the fact that this was her life now. She stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the city move below, and wondered what would happen next. Her phone rang. "Mira." Elena's chest tightened. She answered. "Hey, where are you?" Mira's voice was sharp, worried. "I told you, I'm staying with a friend." "For 4 days?" "Yeah." "Elena, what's going on?" Elena closed her eyes. "I lost my job." There was silence on the other end. Then, "What?" "They fired me. Said I was responsible for some discrepancies in the audit. It's bullshit, but..." She stopped. "It doesn't matter. I'll find something else." "Elena, we can't afford for you not to be working. The bills are paid. All of them. Remember?" Another pause. "Right. The mysterious friend who paid off 6 figures in medical debt. Mira, it's him, isn't it? The guy? Dominic." Elena didn't answer. "Oh my God," Mira said. "You're with him right now. At his place." "Mira, are you out of your mind?" Elena, you don't even know this guy. You can't just... I can, Elena interrupted. And I am, because he's the only person who's ever looked at me and seen something worth protecting. So yeah, I'm with him, and I'm not apologizing for it. The line went quiet. Are you safe? Mira asked finally. Her voice was softer now, scared. Yes. Are you sure? Elena thought about the way Dominic looked at her, the way he touched her, the way he'd saved her life without asking for anything in return. Yes, she said again. I'm sure. Mira exhaled. Okay, but if anything changes, if you need me, call. Immediately. I will. I love you, Elena. I love you too. They hung up. Elena set the phone down and pressed her forehead against the cold glass. She knew what Mira was thinking, knew how this looked from the outside. But Mira didn't understand, couldn't understand, because she hadn't been there, hadn't felt what Elena felt. The door opened behind her. Elena turned. Margaret stood in the doorway holding a garment bag. Mr. Vale asked me to give you this, Margaret said. Elena frowned. What is it? Something for tonight. Tonight? Margaret's expression didn't change. He'll explain when he returns. In the meantime, you should eat. I've prepared lunch. She left before Elena could ask more questions. Elena unzipped the garment bag. Inside was a dress, deep emerald green, sleek and elegant, with a neckline that would show just enough without being too much. The fabric felt like water under her fingers. She stared at it, heart racing. What the hell was tonight? Dominic returned just after 3. He found Elena sitting in the living room, the dress draped across her lap. You got my gift, he said. Elena looked up. What's tonight? A party. What kind of party? Dominic sat down beside her. The kind where powerful people gather and pretend they're friends, business associates, investors, people I need to keep happy. And you want me to go with you? Yes. Elena's stomach twisted. Why? Because I want you there. Dominic's hand covered hers. Because I'm tired of going to these things alone, and because... He stopped. Because I want people to know you're with me. Dominic, I don't fit into that world. Neither do I. Not really, but we'll manage. Elena wanted to say no, wanted to tell him this was too much, too fast, but the way he was looking at her, hopeful, vulnerable, made it impossible. Okay, she said, I'll go. Dominic's shoulders relaxed. Thank you, but if I embarrass you, you won't. You don't know that. Yes, I do. He kissed her forehead. You could never embarrass me, Elena. She wanted to believe him. By 7, Elena was dressed and staring at herself in the mirror. The green dress fit perfectly, of course it did, and Margaret had helped with her hair and makeup. Elena barely recognized herself. She looked expensive, like someone who belonged in Dominic's world. It felt like a costume. Dominic appeared in the doorway, dressed in a sharp black suit that made him look even more dangerous than usual. His eyes swept over her, and something dark and hungry flickered in his gaze. You're stunning, he said. Elena's cheeks flushed. I feel ridiculous. You look perfect. Dominic. He crossed the room and took her hand. I mean it. You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. Elena's breath caught. You're biased. Maybe, but I'm also right. The party was held in a hotel ballroom downtown, the kind of place with crystal chandeliers and marble floors and waiters carrying champagne on silver trays. Elena had never been anywhere like it. Dominic kept her close. His hand rested on the small of her back as they moved through the crowd, a constant, grounding presence. People stared, whispered. Elena heard the questions in their eyes, even if they didn't voice them aloud. Who is she? Where did she come from? What is Dominic Vale doing with someone like her? A man approached, tall, gray-haired, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Elena's old apartment. He smiled at Dominic like they were old friends, but his eyes were cold. Dominic, good to see you. Richard? Dominic's voice was neutral, polite. This is Elena Cross. Elena? Richard Hammond. He runs most of the real estate development on the north side. Richard extended his hand. Elena shook it, trying not to let her nerves show. A pleasure, Richard said. His gaze lingered on her a moment too long. I don't believe we've met before. We haven't, Elena said. Elena's been working in accounting, Dominic said smoothly, though she's exploring other opportunities now. I see. Richard's smile didn't reach his eyes. Well, any friend of Dominic's is welcome here. He walked away. Elena exhaled. That was horrible, she muttered. Dominic's hand tightened on her back. You did fine. He looked at me like I was something he scraped off his shoe. Richard looks at everyone like that. Don't take it personally. Elena wanted to argue, but more people were approaching. Introductions blurred together, names she'd forget in 5 minutes, handshakes that felt more like tests than greetings. Everyone was polite. Everyone was watching. By the time they made it to the bar, Elena's head was spinning. Dominic ordered her a drink, something clear and cold, and handed it to her. You're doing great, he said quietly. I feel like I'm drowning. I know, but you're not. You're handling this better than most people would. Elena took a sip of her drink. It burned going down. How do you stand this? Practice, and the knowledge that most of these people are just as uncomfortable as you are. They're just better at hiding it. That's supposed to make me feel better? Dominic's lips twitched. A little. A woman approached, mid-40s, blonde, wearing a dress that looked like it cost more than a car. She smiled at Dominic, ignoring Elena entirely. Dominic, it's been too long. Vanessa. Dominic's tone was cool. This is Elena. Elena Vanessa Crane. She's on the board of several charities in the city. Vanessa's gaze finally shifted to Elena. Her smile didn't waver, but something sharp flickered in her eyes. How lovely, Vanessa said. And how did you two meet? Through work, Dominic said, before Elena could answer. I see. Vanessa's attention returned to Dominic. You should come by the foundation sometime. We're planning a gala for next month. I'd love your input. I'll think about it. Vanessa's hand rested on Dominic's arm. Too familiar, too casual. Please do. It's been so quiet without you. Dominic stepped back, his hand finding Elena's. If you'll excuse us. He guided Elena away before Vanessa could respond. Was she? Elena started. Yes. And you? A long time ago, before I knew better. Elena wanted to ask more, but Dominic's expression made it clear the subject was closed. They spent the next hour circulating, making small talk, pretending to enjoy themselves. Elena's feet ached in the heels Margaret had picked out, and her face hurt from smiling. But every time she thought about asking to leave, Dominic would squeeze her hand, a silent reminder that she wasn't alone. Then Maxwell Kingsley walked in. Elena saw him first, felt her entire body go rigid. Dominic noticed immediately. What's wrong? Kingsley, Elena said quietly. He's here. Dominic's jaw clenched. Stay here. Dominic. But he was already moving, cutting through the crowd with a purpose that made people step aside without thinking. Elena watched as Dominic approached Kingsley, saw the older man's face go pale, saw the way Dominic leaned in, said something too quiet for anyone else to hear, saw Kingsley nod, his hands shaking. But then something changed. Kingsley's expression hardened. He said something back, sharp, defiant. Dominic's posture shifted, became more threatening. Elena's heart started to race. She moved closer, weaving through the crowd, trying to hear what they were saying. Don't think you have that kind of power anymore, Kingsley was saying, his voice low but audible now. Times are changing, Vale, and you're not as untouchable as you think. Is that a threat? Dominic's voice was ice. It's a fact. You've been making enemies, powerful ones, and they're tired of watching you operate like you own this city. I do own this city, Kingsley smiled. It looked wrong on his face. Not for much longer. You've overstepped, taken something that didn't belong to you, and now there will be consequences. Elena's blood ran cold. He was talking about her. If you touch her, Dominic started, I won't have to. Kingsley's eyes flicked to Elena, who'd stopped a few feet away. She's already in danger just by being with you. You've painted a target on her back, and sooner or later someone's going to take aim. Dominic's hand shot out, grabbing Kingsley by the collar. Several people nearby gasped. Security started moving toward them. Listen very carefully, Dominic said, his voice barely above a whisper but carrying absolute authority. If anything, and I mean anything, happens to Elena, I will hold you personally responsible. And what I do to you will make you wish you'd never been born." He released Kingsley with a shove. The older man stumbled back, his face flushed with anger and fear. "You're making a mistake," Kingsley said. "No, you did, when you tried to use her against me." Dominic turned and took Elena's hand, leading her toward the exit. Behind them, the crowd was already buzzing with whispered speculation. They didn't speak until they were in the car. The driver pulled away from the hotel, and Elena finally found her voice. "What did he mean?" she asked. "About enemies? About consequences?" Dominic's jaw was tight. "Nothing you need to worry about." "Don't do that. Don't shut me out." He turned to look at her. His eyes were dark, troubled. "There are people in this city who don't like the fact that I've consolidated so much power. They've been looking for ways to weaken me, to force me to make mistakes. And I'm a mistake? No. You're a vulnerability. There's a difference." Elena's chest tightened. "So Kingsley was right. Being with you puts me in danger." "Yes. The blunt honesty hurt more than a lie would have. Then maybe I should—" "No." Dominic's hand gripped hers. "Don't finish that sentence. I'm not letting you go, Elena. Not because of threats from small men who think they can intimidate me. But if something happens to me, it won't. Because I'll make sure of it. I'll increase security. I'll have people watching you every second of every day. I'll do whatever it takes." Elena pulled her hand free. "That's not a life, Dominic. That's a prison. It's temporary, until I deal with this." "Deal with it how?" Dominic's expression went cold. "You don't want to know." "Yes, I do." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I'm going to find out who's pushing Kingsley, who's trying to use you to get to me, and I'm going to make sure they understand that there are some lines you don't cross. You're going to hurt people. Probably." "Dominic, this is who I am, Elena." His voice was harsh now, raw. "I'm not a good man. I'm not someone who solves problems with words and compromise. I solve them with power and fear and sometimes violence. And if that's something you can't accept, then maybe you're right. Maybe you should walk away." Elena stared at him, at the man who'd saved her, who'd protected her, who'd made her feel things she'd never felt before. And she realized something important. She didn't want to walk away. "I'm not going anywhere," she said quietly. Dominic's expression shifted. Surprise. Hope. "You mean that?" "Yes, but I need you to promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll come back, that whatever you do, whoever you have to face, you'll come back to me." Dominic's hand came up to cup her face. "I promise." "Say it again." "I promise, Elena. I'll always come back to you." She believed him. When they got back to the penthouse, Elena found Mira waiting in the living room. Her sister stood when they entered, her expression a mix of concern and determination. "We need to talk," Mira said. Elena's stomach sank. "How did you—" "I took a cab, used some of the money from my savings." Mira's gaze shifted to Dominic. "I needed to see for myself what was going on." Dominic nodded. "I'll give you some privacy." He started to leave, but Mira stopped him. "No, you should stay. This involves you too." Dominic looked at Elena. She nodded. He stayed. Mira took a deep breath. "I know who you are, Dominic Vale. I've done research, read articles, talked to people, and I know what you do, what you're involved in." "Mira," Elena started. "Let me finish." Mira's voice was firm. "I know you're dangerous. I know being with you puts Elena at risk, and I know I should probably tell her to run as far away from you as possible." Elena's heart was pounding. "But," Mira continued, "I also know that you saved her life, that you've paid for my medical treatment, that you've given us opportunities we never would have had otherwise. And I've seen the way you look at my sister." Dominic's expression was carefully neutral. "How do I look at her?" "Like she's the only thing in the world that matters." Mira's eyes were bright. "And I've seen the way she looks at you, like you're the answer to something she's been asking her whole life." Elena's throat tightened. "So here's what I need to know," Mira said. "Are you going to keep her safe, no matter what?" "Yes," Dominic said without hesitation. "Even if it costs you." "Especially then." "And you love her? Really love her? Not just as some kind of Possession or trophy? I love her more than I've ever loved anything in my life. Mira studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, then you have my blessing, for whatever that's worth. Elena's eyes burned with tears. She crossed the room and pulled her sister into a hug. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet, Mira said. If he hurts you, I'll kill him myself. Elena laughed through her tears. Deal. When Mira left, Dominic's driver took her home. Elena and Dominic stood alone in the penthouse. Your sister is terrifying, Dominic said. She likes you. That was her liking me? Trust me. If she didn't, you'd know. Dominic pulled Elena close. I meant what I said. To her. To you. I love you, Elena, and I'm going to keep you safe. No. Do you? Because after tonight, after what Kingsley said, I know, Elena repeated. I trust you, Dominic, completely. He kissed her, deep and desperate, like he was trying to convince himself this was real, that she was real. When they pulled apart, Elena rested her forehead against his. What happens now? She asked. Now I make sure no one ever threatens you again. How? By reminding everyone in this city exactly who I am and what happens to people who cross me. Elena should have been scared, should have been horrified by the cold certainty in his voice, but she wasn't, because she'd made her choice, and she was seeing it through. The next morning, Dominic was gone before Elena woke up. There was a note on the pillow. Had to handle something. Back by tonight. Don't worry. I love you. D. Elena stared at the note, her stomach churning. Don't worry. Like that was possible. She spent the day trying to distract herself. Read a book. Watch TV. Tried to write. Nothing worked. Her mind kept drifting to worst-case scenarios. At 3 p.m, her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Miss Cross said. The voice was male, unfamiliar. You don't know me, but I know you, and I know where you are right now. Elena's blood ran cold. Who is this? Someone who wants to help. Dominic Vale is in over his head. The people he's dealing with, they're not going to stop. And you're in the crossfire. What do you want? To give you a choice. Walk away now, while you still can. Or stay and watch everyone you love get hurt. I'm not... Think about your sister, Miss Cross. Think about what could happen to her if you make the wrong choice. The line went dead. Elena's hands were shaking. She immediately called Dominic. It went straight to voicemail. She called again. Same result. Panic started to set in. She called the security team Dominic had assigned to the building. They assured her everything was fine, no one had entered or left. Mira was safe at her apartment, but Elena couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. At 6, Dominic finally called back. Elena, I'm sorry, I couldn't get to my phone. What's wrong? She told him everything. The call, the threat, the mention of Mira. There was silence on the other end. Then, I'm coming home. Right now. Dominic, what's going on? I'll explain when I get there. Just stay inside. Don't open the door for anyone. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up. Elena paced the penthouse, her heart racing. 20 minutes felt like hours. When Dominic finally walked through the door, he looked exhausted and angry, and something else, something that looked almost like fear. Tell me exactly what he said, Dominic demanded. Elena repeated the conversation word for word. Dominic's jaw clenched. It's Victor Strand. Who? The man I told you about. The one trying to expand into my territory. He's escalating. Why would he call me? Because he knows you're my weakness. Dominic's hands were fists at his sides. And he's trying to use that against me. What are we going to do? I'm moving you, both you and Mira, somewhere safe, somewhere he can't find you. For how long? Until this is over. Elena's chest tightened. And when will that be? Soon. I'm meeting with him tomorrow. We're going to settle this, permanently. Dominic, I know what you're going to say. And the answer is no. You can't come with me. You can't be anywhere near this. I'm not asking to come with you. I'm asking you not to go. Dominic crossed the room and took her hands. I have to. If I don't, this will never end. He'll keep pushing, keep threatening, and eventually he'll follow through. Then let me help. No. The only thing you can do is trust me. Can you do that? Elena looked into his eyes, saw the determination there, the absolute certainty that this was the only way. Yes, she said. I trust you. Good. Pack a bag. We're leaving in an hour. The safe house was in the suburbs, a nondescript two-story house on a quiet street surrounded by other nondescript houses, nothing that would draw attention. Mira was already there when they arrived, looking confused and scared. What's happening? She asked. Elena explained. Mira's face went pale. This is because of me, Mira said. Because I'm sick. Because you've been taking care of me. If I wasn't... Don't, Elena said firmly. This isn't your fault. None of it. Dominic stepped forward. Mira, look at me. Mira did. You are not the problem, Dominic said. The people threatening you are the problem. And I'm going to make sure they can't hurt either of you, but I need you to stay here, stay safe. Can you do that? Mira nodded, her eyes shining with unshed tears. Dominic turned to Elena. I have to go. Now? Yes. The longer I wait, the more time he has to plan. I need to end this tonight. Elena's heart was in her throat. Be careful. I will. Promise me. I promise. He kissed her, long and deep, like he was memorizing the taste of her. Then he was gone. Elena and Mira sat in the safe house, waiting. Hours passed. Elena tried to sleep but couldn't. Mira fell asleep on the couch around midnight, exhausted from worry. Elena sat by the window, watching the street, her phone clutched in her hand. At 2 a.m, it finally rang. Dominic. It's done, he said. His voice was rough, tired. Are you okay? I'm fine. Victor won't be a problem anymore. Elena's eyes closed in relief. What happened? We came to an understanding. He's leaving the city, and he knows that if he ever comes back, if he ever so much as thinks about you or Mira again, I'll kill him. Elena should have been horrified by the casual way he said it, but she wasn't. When can we come home? She asked. Tomorrow. I'm sending someone to pick you up in the morning. Where are you now? Cleaning up, making sure there are no loose ends. Dominic. I'm okay, Elena. I promise. Get some sleep. I'll see you tomorrow. I love you. I love you too. They hung up, and for the first time all night, Elena felt like she could breathe. True to his word, someone came to pick them up the next morning. A woman named Sarah, professional and efficient, who drove them back to the city without unnecessary conversation. When they got to the penthouse, Dominic was waiting. He looked tired. There was a bruise forming on his jaw and cuts on his knuckles. But he was alive. Whole. Elena ran to him and threw her arms around him. You're okay, she breathed. I told you I would be. She pulled back to look at his face. What happened to you? Victor didn't want to leave quietly. We had a disagreement. Are you hurt? Nothing that won't heal. Mira cleared her throat. I'm going to my room. Let you two talk. She disappeared down the hallway. Elena led Dominic to the couch and made him sit. She examined his hands, his face, checking for serious injuries. I'm fine, Dominic said. You're not fine, you're hurt. It's superficial. Let me take care of you, please. Dominic's expression softened. Okay. She got the first aid kit and carefully cleaned his wounds. Dominic watched her the whole time, his eyes never leaving her face. I was terrified, Elena said quietly as she bandaged his knuckles. The whole time you were gone. I kept thinking about what could happen, about losing you. You're not going to lose me. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Because I'm not going anywhere, Elena. Not until I'm old and gray and you're sick of looking at me. Elena's eyes burned. That's never going to happen. Good. Because I plan on spending the rest of my life with you. She looked up at him. Is that a proposal? Dominic's lips twitched. Not yet, but soon. How soon? When I can do it right. When I can give you everything you deserve. Elena set down the bandages and took his face in her hands. I already have everything I deserve. I have you. Dominic kissed her, soft and sweet and full of promise. And Elena knew, with absolute certainty, that whatever came next, they would face it together. Because that's what love was. Not perfect, not easy, but real, and worth fighting for. The days after Victor Strand left the city felt different, quieter, like the world had exhaled and forgotten to breathe back in. Elena moved through the penthouse with a strange sense of unreality. She'd wake up in Dominic's bed, watch him get ready for the day, kiss him goodbye, and spend her mornings writing at the desk by the window. Mira had started taking classes again, online for now, but talking about going back to campus in the fall. Everything should have felt normal, safe. But Elena couldn't shake the feeling that they were waiting for the other shoe to drop. 2 weeks after the confrontation with Victor, Dominic came home early. Elena was in the kitchen making tea when she heard the door open. She turned, expecting to see him tired as usual, ready for a drink and silence. Instead, he looked wired, alert, his eyes bright with something she couldn't quite name. "What happened?" she asked. "I need to show you something." He held out his hand. "Come with me." Elena set down her mug and took his hand. "Where are we going?" "You'll see." They took the elevator down to the parking garage. Dominic's car was waiting, engine already running. They drove west, out of downtown, through neighborhoods Elena barely recognized. The buildings got smaller, the streets got wider. Trees appeared where there had only been concrete. Finally, Dominic pulled up in front of a house. Not a mansion, not a penthouse, just a house. 2 stories, brick facade, a small front yard with a tree that looked like it had been there for decades. The kind of place families lived, the kind of place Elena had dreamed about when she was younger and still believed in normal things. "What is this?" she asked. Dominic put the car in park. "Yours, if you want it." Elena's breath caught. "What? I bought it last week. Had people fix it up, make sure everything works. It's not fancy, it's not the penthouse, but it's..." He stopped. "It's a home, Elena, a real one. The kind you and Mira deserve." Elena stared at the house, at the windows with their white curtains, at the door painted a soft blue, at the mailbox with a little red flag. "I don't understand," she said quietly. Dominic turned to face her. "I know the penthouse is a lot. I know it's not really yours. It's mine, my world, my rules. And I thought..." He took a breath. "I thought maybe you'd want something that was just yours and Mira's. A place where you could breathe without feeling like you're living in my shadow." Elena's throat tightened. "You bought us a house." "Yes." "Why?" "Because I love you, and because I want you to have choices. I don't want you to stay with me because you feel trapped, or because you don't have anywhere else to go. I want you to stay because you choose to, every day." Elena's eyes burned. She looked at the house again, at the life Dominic was offering her, the freedom, the space, the chance to be something other than the woman Dominic Vale saved. "What if I don't want it?" she asked. Dominic's expression flickered, uncertainty, fear. "Then we'll sell it, or keep it, whatever you want." "What if I want to stay at the penthouse? With you?" Something in his face relaxed. "Then you stay. Even though this is..." She gestured at the house. "Even though you went through all this trouble?" "Elena." Dominic's hand found hers. "I didn't do this because I want you to leave. I did it because I want you to know you can, that you're not stuck, that you have options, always." Elena turned to him, really looked at him, at this man who'd been watching her for 2 years, who'd saved her from freezing to death, who'd paid her sister's medical bills and protected them both, and now was offering her an escape route just to prove she had one. "You're insane," she said. "I know. And this is the most ridiculous grand gesture I've ever heard of, probably. And I love you so much it scares me." Dominic's expression softened. "Yeah?" "Yeah." Elena leaned across the console and kissed him. "But I don't want the house. Not to live in. Not without you." "You're sure?" "I'm sure. But..." She pulled back. "Can we keep it? For Mira? So she has somewhere that's hers when she's ready?" Dominic smiled. Actually smiled bright and genuine. "Yes, of course." They sat in the car for a few more minutes, holding hands, looking at the house. Then Dominic drove them home. To the penthouse. To the place that was starting to feel less like his and more like theirs. That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Dominic slept beside her, one arm thrown across her waist. Her mind kept circling back to the same thought. She was happy, actually, genuinely happy. It had been so long since she'd felt this way that she almost didn't recognize it. For years, happiness had been theoretical, something other people had, something she'd stopped reaching for because it seemed pointless. But now she had Dominic, and Mira was healthy, and there was a house waiting for her sister when she was ready. And Elena was writing again, really writing, the kind of stories that felt true even when they were completely made up. She had everything she'd never let herself want, and it terrified her. Because in her experience, the universe didn't let you keep things like this. It took them away, punished you for daring to be content. Elena slipped out of bed carefully, trying not to wake Dominic. She grabbed his shirt from the floor and pulled it on, then padded barefoot to the living room. The city glittered outside the windows, indifferent to her spiraling thoughts. She stood there for a long time, arms wrapped around herself, trying to talk herself down from the edge of panic. Can't sleep? Elena jumped. She turned to find Dominic standing in the doorway, wearing only pajama pants, his hair mussed from sleep. I didn't mean to wake you, she said. You didn't. Bed felt empty. He crossed the room and stood beside her. What's wrong? Nothing. Elena, she sighed. I'm waiting for something bad to happen. Dominic frowned. Why? Because this is too good. Because people like me don't get to be this happy. Because every time I've ever had something worth keeping, it got taken away. Your parents. Yeah, and other things. Smaller things. But it adds up. And now I have you and Mira's healthy, and I'm actually doing something I love, and Her voice broke. I keep waiting for the universe to notice and take it all away. Dominic turned her to face him. His hands came up to frame her face. Listen to me. Bad things happen. That's life. That's how the world works. But so do good things. And you've spent so long expecting the worst that you've forgotten you're allowed to have the good without waiting for it to turn bad. What if it does, though? Then we deal with it, together. But you can't live your life braced for impact, Elena. You'll miss everything worth having. Elena's eyes filled with tears. I don't know how to stop. Then let me help you. Dominic's thumb brushed across her cheek. Let me remind you every day that you deserve this, that you're allowed to be happy, that the universe isn't keeping score. You can't promise that. No. But I can promise that whatever happens, you won't face it alone. And I can promise that I'm going to love you through all of it, the good and the bad and everything in between. Elena broke, quietly. The kind of breaking that felt like healing. She pressed her face against his chest and let herself cry, let herself feel all the fear and hope and desperate gratitude that had been building inside her. Dominic held her, didn't tell her to stop, didn't try to fix it, just held her and let her fall apart. When she finally pulled back, her eyes were red but clear. I'm sorry, she said. Don't be. I'm a mess. You're human. There's a difference. Elena laughed wetly. I love you. I love you too. Dominic kissed her forehead. Come back to bed. We'll figure out the rest in the morning. They did. Spring turned to summer. The city got hot and humid, the kind of heat that made the air feel thick. Mira announced she was going back to campus in the fall. She'd enrolled full-time, picked a major, biology, and started talking about medical school someday. Elena watched her sister transform from someone just trying to survive into someone with plans and dreams and a future, and felt something settle inside her chest. Dominic's work continued. There were still late nights, still phone calls he took in another room, still mornings when he came home looking tired and wouldn't talk about where he'd been. But the violence of his world felt further away now, contained, like he'd built a wall between that life and this one, and he was determined to keep it standing. Elena finished her short story collection, sent it to an agent she'd found through research and waiting and hope. Got a response 2 weeks later. They wanted to represent her. She called Dominic first. They said yes, she said when he answered. The agent. They want to work with me. There was a pause, then, Elena, that's incredible. I know, I can't believe it. I can. You're talented. They'd be idiots not to want you. Elena smiled so wide her face hurt. Thank you. For believing in me. For making it possible. You made it possible. I just gave you the space to do it. They celebrated that night. The three of them, Elena, Dominic, and Mira, at a restaurant downtown. Nothing fancy, just good food and better company and the sense that things were finally, actually, okay. Mira raised her glass. To Elena, for finally admitting she's a badass. Elena laughed. I'm not. You are, Dominic interrupted. You survived things that would have broken most people. And you came out the other side stronger. That's the definition of badass. Elena's cheeks flushed. Okay, fine. To being a badass. They clinked glasses. That night, after Mira had gone to bed and the city had gone quiet, Dominic took Elena's hand and led her to the rooftop. The air was cooler up here. The lights of Chicago spread out below them like scattered stars. Elena had been up here before, but never at night, never like this. What are we doing? She asked. Dominic didn't answer right away. He just stood at the edge, hands in his pockets, looking out at the city. I built my whole life around control, he said finally. Around making sure I was never vulnerable, never weak, never at someone else's mercy. And for a long time that worked. It kept me safe, kept me powerful. Elena moved to stand beside him. What changed? You. He turned to look at her. You walked into my life and turned everything upside down. Made me care about something more than power, more than control. Made me realize that being vulnerable isn't the same as being weak. Elena's heart started to race. I've been thinking about the future, Dominic continued, about what I want, what I'm building toward. And I realized that none of it matters if you're not in it. He pulled something from his pocket, a small box. Elena's breath stopped. Dominic opened it. Inside was a ring, simple, elegant, a single stone that caught the light. I know we've only known each other a few months, he said. I know this is fast. I know all the logical reasons we should wait. But I also know that I've never been more sure of anything in my life. And I don't want to waste time pretending I'm not already certain. He got down on one knee. Elena's hands came up to cover her mouth. Elena Cross, Dominic said, his voice steady despite the vulnerability in his eyes. Will you marry me? Elena couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything except stare at this man who'd saved her, loved her, given her back her life. Yes, she finally managed. Yes. Yes. Dominic's face broke into a smile. He stood and slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. Then he kissed her. And Elena felt the last piece of fear she'd been carrying dissolve. Because this was real, this was hers, and she was done waiting for it to be taken away. They were married in September. Not a big wedding. Neither of them wanted that. Just a small ceremony in the backyard of the house Dominic had bought. The one Elena had given to Mira, who'd moved in over the summer and was slowly making it her own. Mira officiated. She'd gotten ordained online specifically for this, and she cried through the entire ceremony. Elena cried too. So did Dominic, though he tried to hide it. The vows were simple, honest, promises to love and protect and choose each other every day for the rest of their lives. When Mira pronounced them married, Dominic kissed Elena like he was sealing a pact, like he was claiming something precious and refusing to let go. The reception was small, just a handful of people Dominic trusted and Elena had come to know. Marcus was there, Dominic's oldest friend, who gave a speech about how he'd never seen Dominic happy until Elena came along. Margaret was there, the housekeeper who'd become something like family. A few others Elena had met through Dominic's world, people who seemed genuinely happy for them. And as Elena stood in the backyard watching the sun set, Dominic's arm around her waist, she realized something important. Family wasn't the people you were born to. It was the people who chose you, who saw you at your worst and decided you were worth staying for. What are you thinking? Dominic asked. Elena leaned into him. That I'm happy and that I'm not scared of it anymore. Good. He kissed the top of her head. Because I plan on making you happy for a very long time. How long? Forever. If you'll let me. That's a big promise. I'm good at keeping promises. Elena turned in his arms to face him. I know you are. They swayed together to music playing from someone's phone. Not dancing, exactly. Just holding each other while the world moved around them. Later, when the guests had left and Mira had gone to bed, Elena and Dominic stood in the kitchen of the penthouse, They're home now, officially, and ate leftover cake straight from the box. We're married, Elena said, still not quite believing it. We are. You're stuck with me now, Dominic grinned. That was always the plan. Elena set down her fork. Can I ask you something? Anything. Do you ever regret it? Walking into that warehouse on Christmas Eve, saving me? Dominic's expression grew serious. Never, not for 1 second. Finding you that night was the best thing that ever happened to me. Even with all the complications, all the danger, especially with all that, because it means you chose this life knowing what it was. You chose me knowing who I am. That's not something I take lightly. Elena reached across the table and took his hand. I'll keep choosing you, every day, for as long as you'll have me. Then you're stuck with me too. They finished the cake and went to bed. And as Elena lay in Dominic's arms, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat, she thought about the journey that had brought them here. A year ago, she'd been drowning, working herself to death for a job that didn't care, watching her sister get sicker, living a life that felt like it was happening to someone else. Now she was a wife, a writer, someone who mattered to her. The road hadn't been easy. It had been terrifying and uncertain and full of moments when she'd wanted to run. But she hadn't. She'd stayed. She'd trusted. She'd taken the risk. And it had been worth it. October brought cooler weather and falling leaves. Mira started her semester with enthusiasm that made Elena's chest tight with pride. The agent sold Elena's short story collection to a small publisher. The advance wasn't huge, but it was real money for real work, and Elena cried when she signed the contract. Dominic's world continued its careful balance. There were still threats, still people who tested boundaries, still nights when he came home with bruised knuckles and wouldn't meet her eyes. But he always came home, always kept his promise. And Elena learned to live with the parts of his life she couldn't control. Learned that loving someone dangerous didn't mean she had to be afraid all the time. It just meant she had to trust that he knew what he was doing. One evening in late October, Elena was working at her desk when Dominic came home early. She heard him before she saw him, the door opening, his footsteps, the sound of his keys hitting the counter. She turned. He was standing in the doorway of the office, holding an envelope. "What's that?" she asked. "Letter from Maxwell Kingsley." Dominic's voice was neutral, too neutral. Elena's stomach dropped. "What does he want?" "He's leaving the city, moving to Seattle. His business here is done. He wanted me to know he won't be a problem anymore." Elena stood. "Is this a trick?" "I don't think so. My people have been watching him. He's been liquidating assets, closing accounts. This seems real." "So it's over? He's actually leaving?" "Looks like it." Dominic set the letter on the desk. One less thing to worry about. Elena should have felt relieved. And part of her did. But another part felt strange, like the closing of a chapter she hadn't realized was still open. "Are you okay?" Dominic asked. "Yeah, She stopped. "It's weird, knowing he's gone, that he can't hurt me anymore." "He could never hurt you, not with me around." Elena smiled. "I know, but still, it feels final." Dominic crossed the room and pulled her into his arms. "Good, because I'm tired of people from your past trying to mess with your present." "What about people from your past?" "They know better." Elena laughed against his chest. "You're so arrogant. I prefer confident." "Same thing. Not even close." They stood like that for a while, just holding each other. And Elena realized that this was what she'd been searching for her whole life. Not perfection. Not some fairy tale ending where everything was easy. Just this. Someone who held her when the world felt too big. Someone who made her laugh when she wanted to cry. Someone who saw all her broken pieces and loved her anyway. That night, they had dinner with Mira. She was excited about a project she was working on for class. Something about cellular regeneration that Elena only half understood but pretended to follow. Mira's eyes were bright. Her cheeks had color. She looked healthy in a way Elena had almost forgotten was possible. After dinner, Mira pulled Elena aside. "I need to tell you something," Mira said. Elena's heart jumped. "What? Are you okay? Is it the—" "I'm fine. It's not that." Mira took a breath. "I've been thinking about the future, about what I want to do after I graduate." "Okay." And I think I want to go into research, cancer research. I want to help find better treatments, better outcomes, so other people don't have to go through what I did. Elena's eyes burned. Mira, that's amazing. You think so? I know so. You're going to change lives. Mira smiled. I learned from the best. What's that supposed to mean? You changed my life, Elena. You gave up everything to take care of me, your education, your dreams, your whole life. You put it all on hold so I could survive. And now, Mira's voice cracked. Now I get to have a future because of you, and I want to make it mean something. Elena pulled her sister into a hug. It already means something. You being here, being healthy, being happy, that means everything. They held each other for a long time, and when they pulled apart, both of them were crying. Dominic appeared in the doorway. Everything okay? Yeah, Elena said, wiping her eyes. Everything's perfect. And for once, she meant it without qualification. December arrived with the first real snow of the season. The city transformed overnight, white and clean and almost magical. Elena stood at the penthouse windows watching it fall, remembering another December night when snow had almost killed her. It felt like a lifetime ago. Dominic came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. What are you thinking about? Christmas Eve, last year. The warehouse. Yeah. Do you wish I hadn't found you? Elena turned in his arms. What? No, why would you even ask that? Because your life would be simpler, safer. If you'd never met me, my life would be over. I would have died that night, Dominic. You saved me. And then I pulled you into my world, made you a target, put you in danger. Elena cupped his face. You also gave me a life worth living. You gave Mira a chance to survive. You gave me back my dreams. You loved me when I didn't even know how to love myself. So no, I don't wish you hadn't found me. I wish I'd found you sooner. Dominic's eyes were bright. I don't deserve you. Probably not, but you're stuck with me anyway. He kissed her, and Elena tasted salt. His tears or hers, she wasn't sure. Maybe both. On Christmas Eve, exactly 1 year after the night that changed everything, Elena and Dominic went back to the warehouse. It was a strange impulse. Elena couldn't explain why she wanted to go, but something pulled her there. Some need to close the circle, to see the place where her old life ended and this one began. The warehouse was still abandoned, still cold and empty. Snow covered the loading dock where she'd almost frozen to death. They stood there together, hands linked, looking at the place where their story started. Thank you, Elena said quietly. For what? For not giving up, for searching for me, for refusing to let me die. Dominic's grip tightened on her hand. I'll always search for you, Elena, no matter where you are, no matter what it takes. You're the most important thing in my life, and I'm never letting you go. Elena turned to him. Snowflakes caught in his dark hair, melting against his skin. He looked exactly like he had that night, strong, determined, unbreakable. But now she knew the truth. He wasn't unbreakable. He was just as scared as she was, just as vulnerable. He'd just gotten better at hiding it. I love you, she said. I love you too. They stood there a while longer, then they went home, to the penthouse, to warmth and light and the life they'd built together. That night they exchanged gifts. Elena gave Dominic a watch, simple, elegant, with an inscription on the back that read, You found me. Dominic gave Elena a leather journal with her initials embossed on the cover. For your next book, he said. Elena ran her fingers over the smooth leather. You think there'll be a next book? I know there will be. You're just getting started, Elena, and I want to be there for all of it. They spent Christmas Day at Mira's house, cooked too much food, watched old movies, laughed until their sides hurt. It was simple, ordinary, perfect. And as Elena sat on the couch between Dominic and Mira, watching snow fall outside the window, she realized something. This was home. Not a place, not a building, not a penthouse or a house or a city. Home was the people who loved you, who chose you, who stayed. Home was Dominic's hand in hers, Mira's laugh, the weight of belonging. Home was right here. The months that followed were full of small moments that added up to a life. Elena's book came out in the spring to modest reviews and quiet sales. It wasn't a bestseller, didn't change the world, but it existed, it was real, and that was enough. Mira finished her first year of college with honors, started talking about summer internships at research labs, continued to thrive in ways that made Elena's heart ache with pride. Dominic's business evolved. He started moving away from the more violent aspects of his work, delegating to people he trusted, focusing on legitimate investments. It wasn't a complete transformation. His world would always have shadows. But he was trying, for her, for them. And Elena learned that love wasn't about fixing someone. It was about accepting them, all of them, and choosing to build something anyway. On their first anniversary, Dominic took Elena back to the rooftop where he'd proposed. "I have something for you," he said. Elena raised an eyebrow. "Another ring?" "No, something better." He handed her a folder. Elena opened it, confused. Inside were documents, legal papers. Her name was all over them. "What is this?" she asked. "Partnership papers. For a new venture I'm starting. A publishing house focused on new voices, stories that don't usually get told, and I want you to run it." Elena's breath caught. "What?" "You're a writer, Elena. You understand the struggle, the rejection, the feeling that your work doesn't matter. And I think you could help other people like you find their audience. If you want to." Elena stared at the papers, at her name typed in black and white, at the opportunity Dominic was offering. "This is insane," she said. "You keep saying that." "Because you keep doing insane things." Dominic smiled. "Is that a yes?" Elena looked up at him, at this man who kept finding new ways to show her she mattered, who kept building a future that had space for both of them. "Yes," she said. "It's a yes." He kissed her, and Elena felt something shift inside her chest. The last piece of the person she used to be, the one who was scared and small and invisible, finally letting go, because she wasn't that person anymore. She was Elena Vale, wife, writer, partner, someone who'd survived the cold and found warmth on the other side, someone who'd been saved and learned how to save herself, someone who'd taken the biggest risk of her life and discovered it was worth it. The city glittered below them, full of people living their own stories, fighting their own battles, searching for their own versions of home. And Elena knew that somewhere out there, someone was standing in the cold, waiting to be found, just like she had been, just like Dominic had found her. "What are you thinking?" Dominic asked. Elena turned to him. "That I'm grateful for all of it, the good and the bad, because it brought me here, to you. No regrets?" "Not one." And she meant it, because love wasn't perfect, life wasn't perfect, but this messy, complicated, beautiful thing they'd built was real, and real was better than perfect any day. They stood on the rooftop as the sun set over Chicago. Two people who'd found each other in the darkness and chosen to walk toward the light together. And for Elena, that was more than enough. It was everything.